You picked up your razor this morning, third shave, maybe fourth, and already it pulls. Already it tugs at your skin like sandpaper wrapped in cheap plastic. You feel that little sting under your jaw, and you tell yourself it's time for a new cartridge. That's exactly what they want you to think. Here's the truth nobody at the drugstore will ever tell you. A good razor blade, treated the way the Amish treat theirs in Lancaster County, can last 2 full years. Not 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 years. And it has nothing to do with the blade itself. It has everything to do with what happens to that blade in the 90 seconds after you finish shaving. I learned this from an old bishop named Amos on a porch outside Intercourse, Pennsylvania, in the summer of 2019. He was pushing 78 and his face was smoother than mine. When I asked him how often he replaced his blade, he laughed. He said the blade in his hand had shaved him since the Obama administration. I thought he was pulling my leg. He wasn't. Stay with me, because what he showed me that afternoon is going to sound almost too simple to be real. But there is real science behind it, and there is a very specific reason this method was pushed out of American bathrooms after World War II. And yes, this works with the razor you already own. The one sitting on your sink right now? Let me back up, because I spent 40 years of my life buying razor cartridges like every other man in this country. 4 blades, 5 blades, vibrating handles, brass strips that turn into slime after a week. I was spending close to $200 a year on shaving alone, and I never once questioned it. That's the trick. They don't need to fool you every day, they just need you to never ask the question. The question is this: why does a piece of hardened stainless steel, engineered to slice through carbon fiber in industrial applications, go dull after 3 passes across a man's face? Human hair has roughly the same cutting resistance as soft copper wire. A blade sharp enough to shave a beard should stay sharp for months of daily use. So what is actually happening? It isn't the hair, it's the water. I want you to think about that for a second, because it changes everything. When you rinse your razor under the tap and set it down on the edge of the sink, you have just done the single most destructive thing possible to that blade. Every drop of water clinging to that edge is beginning a process called oxidation corrosion. Under a microscope, the cutting edge of a razor is not a smooth line. It's a row of tiny microscopic teeth, thinner than a human cell. Water gets trapped between those teeth. Minerals in your tap water, calcium, magnesium, iron, they crystallize on that edge as it dries every single time. Auburn University's Materials Science Department published a study back in 2015 measuring exactly this. They found that 94% of blade dulling in home razors came from oxidation between shaves, not from the actual act of shaving. Read that again. The blade is not being worn out by your beard. It is being eaten alive by the water you leave on it. And Gillette has known this since 1938. There's a patent, U.S. patent number 2,238,845, filed by a man named Henry Gaisman, that specifically addresses moisture retention on blade edges and how to prevent it. That patent was bought, shelved, and never commercialized. Because a blade that lasts 2 years is a blade you only buy once every 2 years. Now here is where the Amish come in. In Amish country, they don't have running hot water in most homes. They don't have electric razors. They shave with straight razors and with old double-edged safety razors that were passed down from grandfathers. And because razor steel is expensive and hard to come by out there, they developed a habit over generations. A habit born of necessity, not marketing. The moment they finish shaving, before anything else, they dry that blade completely. Not with a towel, because a cotton towel will actually dull the edge by dragging fibers across those microscopic teeth. They shake the water off with 3 sharp downward flicks of the wrist. Then they set the blade edge down on a folded piece of newsprint or a small square of denim. The absorbent material wicks the last of the moisture away without touching the cutting edge. But that's only step 1. Step 2 is what changes everything. Amos showed me this on his porch. He took his razor, still slightly damp, and dipped the head, just the head, into a small glass jar. Inside that jar was mineral oil. The cheap kind, the kind you can buy at any pharmacy for $4 a bottle. He swirled it 3 times, pulled it out, tapped off the excess on the rim, and set it in a wooden holder to hang blade down so the extra oil could drip back into the jar. That's it. That is the entire secret. A mineral oil dip after every shave. It coats those microscopic teeth in a protective film that blocks oxygen and water from ever reaching the steel. No oxidation, no mineral crystals, no corrosion. The blade cannot dull because the only thing dulling it in the first place has been chemically locked out. I was skeptical. I want you to know that. I stood there thinking this old man was just lucky, or that his beard was somehow softer than mine. So I went home, I bought a $4 bottle of mineral oil at Walgreens, and I started doing it with a cheap double-edged safety razor I picked up for $22. That was in October of 2019. That same blade shaved me for 18 months before I finally replaced it out of curiosity, not necessity. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this only applies to people building from scratch, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. Everything I just described works with the razor sitting in your bathroom right now. It does not matter if you use a 5-blade Gillette Fusion, a Harry's cartridge, a Dollar Shave Club handle, or an old Merkur safety razor from 1962. The mineral oil dip works on any steel edge. All you need is a small glass jar with a lid, about 4 ounces of mineral oil, and 30 seconds of your time after each shave. That's the entire investment, and you can start tonight. Here's what most men don't realize. The cartridge itself, that little plastic head with the 4 or 5 blades, is not the expensive part to manufacture. The steel costs pennies. The plastic housing costs less. What you are paying for when you spend $45 for 8 cartridges is the assumption that you will throw them away. That assumption is worth billions of dollars a year to the shaving industry. Break the assumption and the whole system collapses in your bathroom. And if you want to know just how deep this goes, look at the Federal Trade Commission complaint filed in 1994 against a company called American Safety Razor. The complaint alleged that the company had specifically engineered blade coatings to degrade after a set number of uses. The case was quietly settled, no admission of guilt, but the coatings were changed. And the coatings on modern cartridges, they contain a chromium-based lubricating strip that literally dissolves faster the more you use it. That green or blue strip on top of your cartridge is not there to help you. It's there to tell you when to buy a new one. Now, before I show you the piece that ties this all together, the technique Amos saved for last, I want to tell you something. What you just learned, the mineral oil dip, the drying method, the newsprint trick, is only the surface. When I started spending real time with families in Holmes County and Lancaster, I began writing down everything they showed me. The way they keep root cellars at 52 degrees without any electricity. The way they cool a bedroom in August using nothing but a wet sheet and a specific window angle. The way they preserve eggs for 8 months on the pantry shelf. 3 volumes of it, everything I gathered, is available as The Complete Field Vault, and there's a special limited time offer on it right now that I linked in the description below. You can scan the QR code on the screen. It's the rest of the buried archive, and you just got one taste of it. Now, back to that porch in Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Because there was one more thing Amos did that I almost missed. And this is the part that took an 18-month blade and turned it into a 2-year blade. He kept his razor jar in a specific place in his bathroom. Not on the sink, not on the shelf, not in the medicine cabinet. He kept it on the inside of a small wooden cabinet on the north wall of the room at about waist height. When I asked him why, he shrugged and said, "That's where my father kept his." But there was a reason his father kept it there, and it took me a year of digging to find it. Temperature stability. The north wall of any bathroom in North America receives the least direct sunlight and stays within a narrower temperature range across the day. Mineral oil viscosity changes with temperature. When the oil is too warm, it thins out and drips off the blade too quickly. When it's too cold, it thickens and coats unevenly, leaving gaps where oxidation can still occur. A stable temperature between 60 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit keeps the oil at the perfect viscosity to form a complete molecular barrier on the blade edge. There is a document I want you to know about. It's called the Rural Homemaker's Compendium, published by the USDA in 1934 before the shaving industry consolidated. On page 187 of that compendium, there is a full section on the care and maintenance of household cutting implements. It describes Almost word for word what Amos showed me on his porch. Dry the blade completely. Coat with light mineral oil. Store in a temperature-stable location away from direct sunlight. The document also notes that a properly maintained safety razor blade should last, and I quote, no less than 2 years of regular use in an adult household. 2 years! Written into a federal document. In 1934, the same year, the Gillette company reported its highest annual profit in history from disposable blade sales. That document was pulled from active USDA publication in 1952. It exists now only in university agricultural archives. I found my copy at Penn State's Special Collections Library on a microfilm reel that had not been checked out in 19 years. 19 years! That's how long a piece of practical American knowledge sat gathering dust, while every man in this country kept spending $200 a year on cartridges that could have lasted him a lifetime. Here's what I want you to do this weekend. Go to the pharmacy, buy a $4 bottle of mineral oil, the kind sold as a laxative or a wood conditioner. Doesn't matter, it's the same substance. Get a small glass jar with a screw-top lid, something around 4 ounces. A baby food jar works perfectly. Fill it 2/3 full with the mineral oil. After your next shave, rinse your razor under warm water, shake it 3 times with a firm downward flick, dab the edge on a folded piece of newspaper or a scrap of denim, and dip the head into the jar for 3 seconds. Swirl gently, tap off the excess on the rim. Store the jar on the coolest wall of your bathroom, away from the shower and the window. That's it. That is the entire technique, and by the time your current cartridge would normally have been thrown in the trash, it will still be shaving you as sharp as the day you opened it. I want you to think about what that means. Over 10 years, a man who shaves 5 days a week and replaces cartridges on the manufacturer's schedule will spend somewhere between $1,800 and $2,000 on blades alone. A man using this method with a proper safety razor and a bottle of mineral oil will spend under $50 in that same decade. That's $1,900 gone. Taken, stolen from you and your family, one $3 cartridge at a time, because nobody ever told you there was another way. And there is another way. There always was. It was written in a USDA document your grandfather might have read. It was practiced on porches in Lancaster County by men who shaved with the same blade for years. It was preserved quietly by a community that never bought into the throwaway economy in the first place. You just got it back. If you are the kind of man who believes that real knowledge, useful knowledge, the kind that saves your money and puts control back in your own hands, has been quietly pushed aside so that someone else could get rich off your ignorance, then you already know what to do next. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me one thing. What razor are you using right now, and are you going to try the mineral oil dip this weekend? I read every single comment on this channel, and I especially want to hear from the men who try it and come back a month later to report what happened to their blade. Leave it below. Don't be shy. And if this is your first time here, understand that this channel is not about tips and tricks. It's about recovering what was taken from us. A whole generation of American practical knowledge pushed out of our homes by companies that profited from our forgetting. Every video on this channel brings another piece of it back. Next week, I'm going to show you how the Amish keep an entire pantry of fresh eggs without refrigeration for 8 full months using a method that dates back to a Dutch farming manual from 1847. You won't believe how simple it is. Subscribe and stay with me. The archive is still down there, and we are digging it back up, one buried secret at a time. Now, before you close this video and go dig your razor out of the shower, I want to give you a few more details that I could not fit into the main portion of what I just shared with you, because these details are the difference between a man who tries the mineral oil trick once and gives up, and a man who actually gets 2 full years out of a single cartridge. The devil, as they say, lives in the details, and the razor companies are counting on you skipping past them. The first detail is the water. I mentioned earlier that you need to rinse your blade thoroughly before the mineral oil dip, but I did not tell you what kind of water to use, and this matters more than you would think. If you live in a city with hard water, and roughly 85% of American households do, according to the United States Geological Survey, then your tap water is loaded with dissolved calcium and magnesium. When that water evaporates off your blade, and it will evaporate whether you dry the razor or not because the humidity in a bathroom guarantees it, those minerals get left behind as microscopic crystalline deposits right along the edge. Over time, those deposits build up into a chalky scale that acts like sandpaper against your skin and forces you to press harder, which in turn accelerates the microscopic bending of the edge that I described earlier. So, if you can, and I know this sounds fussy, give your razor a final rinse with distilled water before the oil dip. A gallon jug of distilled water from the grocery store costs about $1.20, and it will last you 6 months if you use it only for this purpose. Keep it under the sink. That one small habit alone will add months to the life of a blade, and it costs you less than a nickel per shave. The second detail is the oil itself. I told you mineral oil, and I stand by that, but there is a specific grade of mineral oil that works best, and it is not the stuff in the laxative aisle at CVS, though that will work in a pinch. What you actually want is what is sold as food-grade mineral oil, the kind that people use to condition wooden cutting boards and butcher blocks. A 16-ounce bottle from any hardware store or kitchen supply shop runs about $7, and I promise you it will outlast 3 or 4 of your razors. The reason food grade is better is that it is filtered to a higher purity, meaning it has fewer volatile compounds that can flash off and leave residue. It is also thicker, with a viscosity somewhere around 70 sus at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which means it clings to the blade edge instead of running off. My grandfather, whose name was Harold, and who worked as a machinist at a bearing plant in Erie, Pennsylvania from 1948 until his retirement in 1989, taught me that the thickness of your protective oil matters as much as the oil itself. He used to say, and I can still hear him saying it, that a thin oil protects for a day and a thick oil protects for a season. Harold shaved with the same Gillette Super Speed safety razor for 41 years. He replaced the blades, sure, but he made a single pack of 5 blades last him roughly 16 months by doing exactly what I just described to you. When he passed in 2003, my grandmother gave me that razor. I still have it on my bathroom counter. It works as well today as it did when Truman was in the White House. The third detail, and this one is going to sound strange, is the angle of storage. When you finish oiling your blade and you set the razor down, do not lay it flat on the counter with the blade facing up. Do not stand it upright in a cup with the blade pointing at the ceiling. Both of those positions allow the oil to pool at one end of the blade, which means the other end goes unprotected, and worse, it allows dust to settle onto the edge. What you want to do is store the razor on its side, ideally in a small dish or on a folded washcloth, with the blade horizontal to the ground. This lets the oil coat the entire edge evenly through capillary action, and it prevents dust settlement on the sharp portion of the metal. This is the same principle that watchmakers use when they store precision components. It is such a small thing, but it matters. A single speck of dust, a fragment of lint from a towel, is enough to nick the edge of a blade when you next drag it across your face, and once a nick starts, it propagates. Every subsequent shave widens that nick because the flexing action of the blade against your skin concentrates stress right at the point of the defect. This is basic metallurgy. It is what causes airplane wings to fail. It is what causes bridge cables to snap, and it is what causes your $6 razor to feel dull after 8 shaves. Store it on its side. Do not skip this. Now, I want to talk for a moment about the counter-argument, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking, well, if this is all so obvious, why doesn't everyone know about it? Why isn't it on the packaging? Why don't the shaving forums talk about it constantly? And these are fair questions. They deserve a real answer. The truth is that this knowledge did not disappear all at once. It faded over the course of about 30 years, roughly from 1965 to 1995, and the fading tracks almost perfectly with the rise of the disposable razor market. In 1965, the Bic Company, a French firm, introduced the first fully disposable razor to the European market. It arrived in the United States in 1975. Before then, the standard practice was to buy a razor once in your lifetime and to buy replacement blades in small quantities as needed. The razor was a durable good. It was expected to last decades. The blades were the consumable, and even those were treated with respect. My grandfather kept his used blades in a small tin, because in the 1950s and 1960s, most American medicine cabinets had a slot in the back, specifically designed for disposing of used razor blades. That slot dropped the blades into a hollow space inside the wall, where they would slowly accumulate for the entire life of the house. When old houses get demolished, contractors regularly find hundreds, sometimes thousands of rusted double-edged blades inside the walls. That was the culture. You used a blade until it truly could not be used anymore, and even then, you disposed of it thoughtfully. Then came Bic, and after Bic came the Gillette Track 2 in 1971, and then the Atra in 1977, and then the Sensor in 1990, and each generation of razor added complexity, added moving parts, added lubrication strips and pivoting heads, and crucially, added marketing budgets. By 1995, Gillette was spending over $300 million a year on advertising in the United States alone, according to filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. That is more money than the entire annual budget of the National Endowment for the Arts. And what that money bought, aside from Super Bowl commercials and celebrity endorsements, was cultural saturation. It bought the assumption, quietly planted in the mind of every American man born after 1970, that razor blades are consumables and that they wear out quickly, and that this is simply how the world works. It bought the disappearance of the tin box. It bought the disappearance of the medicine cabinet blade slot. It bought the disappearance of Harold and men like him who knew better because they had been taught better by fathers who had been taught by grandfathers, all the way back to the introduction of the safety razor by King Camp Gillette himself in 1901. And here is the thing that I find genuinely upsetting, and I want you to sit with this for a moment. King Camp Gillette, the man whose name is on the box, the founder of the company that has done more than any other to convince you that blades wear out quickly, he himself wrote in his 1894 book, titled The Human Drift, that the future of industry should be defined by durability and communal efficiency, not by planned obsolescence. He wrote that products should be designed to last, that waste was a moral failing, and that any company built on the deliberate degradation of its own goods was, and I quote him directly here, a parasite on human progress. Those are his words. The founder of the company, and within 50 years of his death in 1932, the corporation bearing his name had become the single largest practitioner of exactly the kind of parasitic obsolescence he had warned against. If that does not tell you something about how far we have drifted from the values of the men who built this country, I do not know what will. Let me give you one more piece of practical advice before we close out, and this one comes from a barber I met in Charleston, South Carolina in the spring of 2018. His name was Reuben, and he had been cutting hair and shaving faces in the same shop on King Street for 47 years when I sat down in his chair. Reuben used a straight razor for the finishing pass on every shave, and he stropped that razor between every single customer on a length of horsehide leather that was older than I am. But he also, and this surprised me, used disposable cartridge razors on some of his customers, the ones who preferred the modern experience. And when I asked him how often he replaced those cartridges, he laughed. He told me that he had one cartridge razor, a Gillette Mach 3, that he had been using on customers for over 4 years. 4 years. In a professional barber shop, doing multiple shaves per day. When I asked him how, he leaned in close and told me his secret, which I am now passing along to you. Before every use, he ran the blade under scalding hot water for exactly 15 seconds. After every use, he dipped it in isopropyl alcohol, 91% concentration, for 5 seconds, and then he coated it in a light film of jojoba oil, not mineral oil. Jojoba, he explained, is technically a liquid wax, not an oil, and it has a much longer shelf life without going rancid. It also has natural antimicrobial properties, which is important in a professional setting. A 4-ounce bottle of pure jojoba oil costs about $12 and will last you 2 years easily. If you want to level up beyond mineral oil, that is the next step. Jojoba is what the barbers know about. It is what the professionals use. And now you know too. Reuben also told me something that has stayed with me ever since, and I want to share it with you as we bring this video toward a close. He said that in his 47 years of cutting hair, he had watched the American man lose almost every practical skill his grandfather had taken for granted. He had watched men come into his shop who did not know how to shave themselves properly, did not know how to sharpen a knife, did not know how to change the oil in their own car, did not know how to patch a pair of jeans or resole a boot or preserve a harvest of tomatoes. And he said, and I am quoting him almost exactly, that the great tragedy of the modern American man is not that he lacks intelligence or capability, but that he has been convinced gently and continuously over the course of his entire life that these skills are beneath him, that they are the concerns of poor people, of rural people, of people who have not yet made it, when in fact they are the concerns of free people, of people who own their own lives, of people who cannot be squeezed by a corporation for every dollar of their disposable income because they have taken the trouble to learn how to do things themselves. That is what this channel is about, ultimately. It is not about razors. The razor is just the entry point. The razor is the small thing that opens the door to the larger realization, which is that almost everything you have been told about how to live as a modern consumer is a lie constructed for the benefit of someone whose face you will never see and whose name you will never know. The dish soap that supposedly needs to be replaced every 3 months, the car battery that supposedly cannot be reconditioned, the wool sweater that supposedly cannot be repaired, the cast iron pan that supposedly needs a fancy synthetic coating, the mattress that supposedly needs to be replaced every 8 years, the wooden furniture that supposedly cannot be refinished. Every single one of these claims is either an outright fabrication or a wild exaggeration, and every single one of them costs the average American household somewhere between $200 and $800 per year, which over a working lifetime of 45 years adds up to somewhere between $9,000 and $36,000 of pure waste. That is a down payment on a house. That is 4 years of state college tuition. That is a decade of retirement contributions gone because nobody ever taught you the small things that your great-grandfather knew instinctively. I want you to think about that number the next time you throw away a razor cartridge. I want you to think about it the next time you replace something that could have been repaired. Because the aggregate cost of your forgetting is not small. It is not a matter of a few dollars here and there. It is, over the course of your life, the difference between financial freedom and financial servitude. It is the difference between passing something along to your children and passing along nothing but debt. And it is, if you zoom out far enough, the difference between a nation of self-reliant citizens and a nation of dependent consumers. This is not a small matter. This is not a hobby. This is not a quirky little life hack. This is a return to first principles, and it starts with something as simple as a $5 bottle of mineral oil under your bathroom sink. Before I let you go, I want to address one last concern that I know some of you are going to have, because I have gotten this question in the comments of previous videos and I want to head it off. Some of you are going to say, well, this is all well and good, but what about the ergonomic handle? What about the pivoting head? What about the lubrication strip? Aren't those innovations that actually do improve the shave? And my honest answer is yes, some of them do, and no, most of them do not. The pivoting head, introduced by Gillette on the Atra razor in 1977, is a genuine engineering improvement. It allows the blade to follow the contours of your face more accurately, which reduces the pressure you need to apply, which extends blade life. That is real. The ergonomic handle, the rubberized grip, these are minor comfort improvements, but they do not affect the shave itself in any meaningful way. The lubrication strip, however, and I want to be direct about this, is largely marketing. The strip is made of polyethylene glycol impregnated with aloe or vitamin E or whatever ingredient sounds nice on the packaging, and it does provide a small amount of glide on the first 2 or 3 shaves. After that, it is gone, dissolved into the water, and washed down the drain, and yet the razor continues to shave just as well as it did before because the strip was never doing the real work anyway. The real work of glide is done by your shaving cream or soap, and the quality of your shaving preparation matters far more than the presence or absence of a plastic strip on your razor. Which brings me to a small side note that I promise will save you more money. Do not buy shaving cream in a can. The propellant in an aerosol can of shaving cream is nitrogen or isobutane, and it makes up somewhere between 20 and 30% of the volume of what you are paying for. You are literally buying compressed air at a premium price. Buy a shaving soap instead. A puck of good quality shaving soap from a maker like Vanderhagen or Williams, or if you want to go traditional, a British brand like Taylor of Old Bond Street, costs somewhere between $3 and $15 and will last you 6 months to a year of daily shaving. Combined with a Badger hairbrush, which is a one-time purchase of about $20 to $40 and lasts a decade, you will get a lather that is denser, more protective, and more skin-friendly than anything you can squirt out of a can. And your razor blade, protected by that thick lather instead of the thin foam of a can, will last even longer. Everything compounds. The mineral oil, the distilled water rinse, the side storage, the quality lather, they all work together, and together they turn a disposable object into a durable one. I want to leave you with one final thought before I sign off. There is a phrase that comes up again and again in the old American homesteading manuals, in the writings of men like Wendell Berry, and before him Louis Bromfield, and before him the anonymous authors of the Farmer's Almanac going back to Robert Bailey Thomas in 1792. The phrase is simply this: use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Say it to yourself in the mirror tomorrow morning when you pick up your razor. Say it to yourself the next time you are tempted to throw something away that could be saved with a little knowledge and a little care. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. That is the creed of the men and women who built this country. And it is a creed that has been deliberately, systematically buried by an economy that profits from your forgetting. Well, we are done forgetting. We are digging it back up. Go take care of your razor tonight, report back in the comments, and I will see you next week for the eggs.